Hello everyone, I'm Bruffy1322 and welcome to a bit of a feisty first episode for the 2024 Real Life Racing series. This video is brought to you by the Twitch area of my website. Check out my stream schedule and what I'll be playing each stream, as well as info on emotes, sub badges, donation sounds and more at bruffy.com/twitch. So we're back, 2024 new season starting, and after a bit of an up and down season last year upon my return to the championship, I was kind of hoping for, a decent start to this season, but that didn't really happen when I qualified in 13th place and a full 2.4 seconds per lap slower than the leaders. That was never going to help matters, and yeah, it was a bit of a tough start in this first race. So I'm gonna go through the action very quickly. To be honest, it's amazing that I was still anywhere close to the mid pack. There's 19 people in this race, but that's the difference in karts and driver performances. It seems my kart actually finished second from last in the heavyweight class race that had just taken place, so I knew it wasn't going to be a good first race for me, but I was just going into it. It's a fresh season, a fresh year. Go into it hoping to do the best that I could, and there's actually a new championship now at the track for 14 to 16 year olds, so that's why there's less people in the lightweight category, which is what I race in. There's only 19 here, where there was often above 35 last year, and it's just because we had a lot of younger people in there, which is a good thing. But I'm still also one of the higher weights for the class. I'm closer to the heavyweights than I am the lightest in the lightweights, so yeah, I'm carrying an extra 14 kilos, for example, in comparison to Penfold, who won the first race. And I think that does make the differences in karts more pronounced, although they are pretty big to begin with, and certainly the biggest I've ever seen them. But in this race, I was hoping for a new start, a decent start to a new season, but I was mired in this mid-pack, and I could see that I was quicker than, these three that are in front of me. I could see that I was quicker, but there was just nothing I could do to get into the position to overtake. I was making up, time in the corners, but then they're pulling away on the straights, and then I make up time again, say in the chicane here, and then they pull away on the straights again. And yeah, it was just difficult. I was trying everything that I could do to try and get past, but nothing seemed to work. And yeah, I was sort of stuck behind this. In this gaggle of karts for a good number of laps, not really being able to make an impression until we come on to lap 7, which is where I finally started to get a bit of a breakthrough. Obviously, a little bit of a mistake from the guy in front that allowed me to, just basically take advantage in that kind of situation, and that's what I've got to do in these moments where I definitely don't have the kart to really compete. I've got to take advantage of any little mistake that's happening in front of me, and then ultimately try to keep the position after that. Like, you can see how much I caught up there, for example, in the hairpin, and I realised I was much better on the brakes than the guy in front of me immediately. As you probably saw at that hairpin, I'm catching up in all the corners. I was much better on the brakes and in the closing areas. I would have gone for a move here because there was quite a heavy slipstream, but there was a yellow flag in the first sector of the track, so I couldn't do that. But yeah, there was a big headwind on the track this time, so certainly in the first race anyway. This second race not so much, but the first race there was a big slipstream effect, so there were opportunities to move forward, but even in the slipstream my kart struggled to keep up with those in front. I had to be very, very close, like basically what you just saw at the end of that previous lap and the start of this lap. But I was still hopeful that I could still make a few positions, and because I knew that I was much better on the brakes going into the hairpin here, I got a good run out of the chicane and closed up a little bit. I thought I would just go for it up the inside, and yeah, it really paid off. There was absolutely no contact whatsoever. It was just a beautiful clean move, and that was pretty much it for this first race. I ended up finishing right in the mid-pack, 10th place out of 19. I caught up to the guy in front of me here, but there weren't enough laps left to really make any kind of impression, and I wasn't really going to be doing much better than this in terms of the lap time that I got in comparison to the leaders anyway. So yeah, a kind of muted start to the season. The second race, however, certainly was action-packed, and it started off with me getting characteristically unlucky right at the start, where my kart decided to not go forward when I pressed the throttle pedal. So by the time I got to the start finish line, which is, you know, a few meters down the track, I was already in last place. You obviously start the second race where you finish the first race, so I started in 10th because that's where I finished. The carts are reversed, so whoever finishes in last place gets the cart that won the previous race. But because I was in 10th place, which is right in the middle of 19, I got exactly the same cart as I got in the first race. So obviously I actually asked to change it, but then at that point I had no control over what cart I got. It was just another random pick, and I think it was slightly better than the cart in the first race, but it certainly wasn't on the pace of some of the top carts that we've seen, and you'll see that evidenced sort of almost immediately here as you see the guy in front. But certainly when we come back onto the start finish straight, keep an eye on the guy in front in the Red Bull helmet, and keep an eye on his position in relation to me, because I actually said things in my helmet at the time because I just could not believe the pace difference. So we come around the final corner, you know, he took a compromised line into that final corner, and I was right on his back bumper, and then he just flies away from me. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe the difference. It's like a different class of kart entirely. And then you'll notice in these first couple of laps, this guy has a very, very quick kart, but it's almost like he can't control it because I'm catching up in every single corner. He's sliding all over the place. But, you know, ultimately in this race, he ends up finishing ahead of me further up the field because that's just the kart differences at the moment. And I think, you know, I've signed on for the first 3 rounds of this championship, and then we've got a big 24-hour race happening at the end of April. After that, I don't know how much I'm going to continue with this championship. I might look into doing some other things and racing elsewhere as well during this season, because it's kind of ridiculous, to be honest. You know, to be 2.5 seconds off the pace in qualifying, I think I've demonstrated during the course of the many years I've been doing this series that I'm not 2.5 seconds off the pace from a driving perspective, and those are some huge differences. And certainly when I was, you know, trying to make up places after this horrific start where I just can't seem to get any luck in these races, and that is evidenced again from the very start of this. Following all of this, trying to make back up those places, and just seeing someone fly away like that, like you're seeing in the front there, and then botch it in the next corner. You know, there's only so much you can do that before it kind of gets a bit old. But nevertheless, you know, I was still here. I was racing. I wasn't just gonna throw in the towel. I thought I'd see what I could do, see how many places I could get, because, you know, once you're in last place, everything just becomes so much more difficult. If I started 10th, that's 9 places that I didn't need to overtake to be where I was on the grid, because I'd done all of that work, at least from 13th on the grid in the qualifying. I'd done all of that work in the first race, and I wanted to then push on from that and capitalize on that and make up more places, hopefully, in the second race. And the fact that all the carts get swapped around also means that, you know, there's a bigger chance that there's going to be differences in performance, and some of the drivers higher up the order who got maybe a good kart in the first race might not get such a good kart in the second, and then it swaps around and you can have some good battles. But when I'm in last place, as we see this guy just fly past again and completely round the outside of someone on the straight there, but I'd take this opportunity as well here because I spy an opening, so I figured I would go for it and get up into 16th, and that's where I stay for quite a while actually. But it's still, you know, I'm still battling and trying my best to make these places, but it's just it's a bit of a mistake there actually. I went way wide there, but yeah, it's just one of those things where you just I keep feeling like I never get any luck. You know, every once in a while you can get a great kart, and I did 1 or 2 rounds in the previous season, and obviously I got my win in the final. But the kart differences not only are annoying when you're in a bad kart, but they're also somewhat annoying when you get the good kart and you have a good result, because then, you know, it's not really down to you, it's just because you happen to get a good kart. It would be really nice. I think, you know, most of the drivers here are probably within a second and a half of each other from top to bottom of the field. Most of the top drivers are probably all within a couple of tenths, and we could have some really good battles if the karts were even relatively close, but they just don't seem to be the case at all at the moment. So yeah, I don't know how long I'm going to do this for. In terms of this championship specifically this year, there's a good chance I'm not going to do all of the rounds because of all of this. Maybe if they get a new fleet of carts at some point, I can return to it. But like I say, I've already booked on for the first 3, so I might as well do them, see what it's like, and see if I can get some decent results and get a bit of luck maybe, because certainly the last 2 rounds, the final round of last year and the final 2 rounds of last year and the first round of this year, I just haven't seemed to be able to get any luck whatsoever. So yeah, at this point in this race, I realise I am much quicker than the guy in front. You know, you can kind of tell from how much I'm catching, where I'm catching. I'm trying to make moves as best I can, and like I say, I should be 6 positions up from this, at least based on where I finished the first race, and trying to go forward from there. But I was all the way at the back, and then as you can see, even in the slipstream, I'm not really gaining at all during the straight, so that's showing the difference there. And I was really struggling to find a place to pass, because, and I say it sometimes in the helmet, I'm sort of like, I'm so much quicker. I just can't get into that place to pass, because when the other kart is quicker on the straight, you can't get into the position to make a dive down the inside, for example. You're always catching up so that you're right on the back bumper at the exit of a corner, and then they just drive away again. So yeah, I was struggling at this stage, and I never I never lost hope that I could make some places, but I was obviously aware that you might see on the right hand side that there's a big group of karts all fighting over, I think it was second place at that point, but it ends up being a massive group of karts that fight over third place in this race. And my lap time ultimately by the end of this race, once I'd got a bit of clear air and set a lap time that I could actually do on my own, my lap times were good enough to be in that group. They were matching everybody in that group. So if the issue hadn't have happened at the start of the race when I was in 10th, if I'd stayed in that 10th place, even with this kart that's not that much better than the kart I had in the first race, I still could have been in that battle for third place, and we could have had a 7 or 8 kart battle from third all the way down to 12th, and it would have been a really exciting and fun race. But I didn't get that because of the kart issue at the start of the race, and then I'm just working my way back up. But I'm finding it difficult to do that because it's so difficult to pass when you're at a disadvantage from the performance of the kart. So yeah, I'm still trying. I'm still here. We can see that the guy in the white, he is battling with the girl in the black and the pink, and at this point he goes up the inside, and I hope that I can kind of take advantage of this. So I push her up the back to hopefully be able to go round the inside myself and get an overtake that way, but it didn't pay off. So again, I'm stuck in the same place, and then I have to defend my position because we are so slow that guys behind have caught us up now as well. So I'm trying everything that I can and all these little moves, but nothing is really paying off. And you can see obviously the guy in the white is trying to do things as well, but he's hitting the girl in front quite a bit as well in trying to get past, and we saw that even on the sort of the back straight on the previous lap. He's obviously got a quicker kart, and I think she's in a relatively slow one, certainly on some of the straights, and certainly in comparison to the guy in the white, but he's not able to find a way past either. So we're just in this big train, and this is where again he goes for it, and again he's hitting her on the side, and I just basically turned this into an overtake. I didn't intend that to happen, but he was obviously out of position when he went for that. I don't know what he was trying to do, and I just decided I'll go for it up the inside, and there it was. I was really just taking my normal line. And this is where the interesting part happens, because I get a bit of a run, and then she keeps coming over and just forces me off the track, and then gives me the finger for my trouble. Well, the bird, the the two fingers as is customary in the UK. So yeah, I decided that I would basically give as good as I get. I climb up on the curb a little bit, and we're side by side all the way through there, and I think she ends up going through the tyre wall, the tyre barriers for her trouble. So yeah, that was a bit of a spicy moment, you know. Unusual for me to sort of retaliate in any way, and I still think it was, you know, just on the edge of legality. I don't think I think I gave as good as I got, but you know, for in reality, she shouldn't have continued moving. As soon as I was alongside her on the straight, she can't then continue moving over on me to push me off the track. You know, those are the rules of racing, especially on straights. You can't just crowd someone out once they are even a fraction alongside. So, you know, she did that, and then I don't know why she, you know, flipped me off. I don't know what that was all about. Maybe she thought I was the guy who, you know, the guy in the white who had been hitting her for, you know, the last couple of laps. But you know, it doesn't matter. She couldn't do that. It's not my fault that she left her defense too late and moved over too late. So yeah, I just thought, screw it, I'm gonna go up the inside here. I did climb the curb a little bit, and we were side by side all the way around this section. But you know, it's not my problem. It's not my problem that she ended up on the outside and in the worst place there. If she'd given me the position that she should have done on the straight, then it wouldn't have been a problem, and I would have just gone on my merry way. So yeah, it was a bit of a flashpoint on this one. Made it a bit more of a feisty race than it probably needed to be. And as you saw, as soon as I've like got past those that I was racing with, the guy in the white, the girl in the black and the pink, that we were in that train, I've immediately caught up to these two in front, and these were quite significantly far ahead when I got up into 14th place, and I catch them up very, very quickly, and you know, get one of them here, and then I'll get the other one on the start finish straight as well. And it was, you know, it was very quick and easy to then go from 14th to 12th, but to get from 16th to 14th was a bloody nightmare. So yeah, and as you can see, you know, from the lap times as well, my lap time immediately improves significantly as soon as, again, I get through the mess that I was trying to get through earlier. So yeah, it was a bit of an interesting race, this one. It was, you know, not the best start to a season I've ever had. You can see that big group there on the right hand side, about 7 of them, not 8 of them I think, all fighting over 3rd place. And again, like I said, my lap times I could have been in that group if I'd just not had the bad luck at the start of the race with the cart bogging down. So yeah, I guess I've just got to hope for a bit better luck. There's not a lot more I can do than that, really. I'm just got to race what I get, and yeah, we'll see what happens in the next 2 rounds at least, and from that point on I'll let you know how I'm feeling. But yeah, hopefully it's been an enjoyable one to watch, and you've enjoyed a bit of a feisty start to 2024. Let me know all your thoughts down below the comments, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.